I haven't even gone all the way up yet, and we have a pretty steady drip, as long as it's nothing to do with the engine. Hang on a second. I can get up on these too. Whoa. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Hey guys, welcome to LegitStreetCars and welcome to a day in the life. Today is Friday, and on Fridays here at LegitStreetCars, I do a lot of miscellaneous stuff. We do a lot of cleaning and organizing, but I actually work on a ton of cars off camera. These are things that individually wouldn't make for a video, but still need to get done. And some of this stuff is just like my normal content. It's just not structured, you know, exactly the way you guys are used to, where we have a beginning, a middle where we work on the car, and then like a finished product. I work on a bunch of cars. So anyway, that's what this video is gonna be on, and I think you guys are gonna like it because it's essentially just me, and in some cases, Peter, fixing cars. So anyway, let's just get right into it. We have a bunch of cars to fix, and unfortunately some cars to diagnose. The CL65 has a coolant leak. This started up after I was doing some half throttle runs last video testing the intakes out. All right, so here's what we got going on. After that video, I pulled in and I just saw a little bit of coolant kind of puddling up there. And luckily for me, crossing my fingers, it's coming from this general area. So hopefully it's a hose. I'd actually be okay with a radiator at this point, even though they're really expensive, as long as it's nothing to do with the engine. So let's pressure test. All right, so I have the Mercedes adapter, but it is leaking right at the tank right now. So I believe that's just the adapter. I don't think there's any issue here with the tank. All right, here we go. So we'll bring this up to about 15 PSI. One more for the kids, there we go. So we're at 15 right now, and it is going down. I don't 100% trust this whole cap setup right here, but let's look around. This hose has pressure for sure. And let's see if we can see anything down here. Might have to lift it up. I haven't even gone all the way up yet, and we have a pretty steady drip. So while we have pressure, let's just see what's going on here. I gotta say, this is the only time you should be happy if it's a bad radiator, because I had this entire engine of parts. Everything went together perfectly. I don't suspect anything with it, but you never know. Okay, what is going on? Very hard to see right now. It's either the radiator or that hose all the way up there. Yeah, it's really hard to tell. It could be the end tank here where it's crimped into the aluminum. That's a possibility. I think we got to take this fan out though. All right, I've had this radiator fan out way too many times. It's a pretty easy fan to take out, I must say. I removed 2 screws on the bottom, and then we have one here, and then another one. And yes, there are 2 totally different bolts because I lost the other factory one. All right, got the plug disconnected. This guy should come right out now. Oh, yeah, no, it won't. Trans line, I forgot. It's way easier to disconnect this trans line. Let me do that. All right, transmission line is out. I'll show you guys that line up close once we get this fan out. There we go. All right, so here's that trans line. You won't lose any fluid, but that gets in the way of this little guy right here when you're going up. So instead of trying to snake it out and potentially breaking that part of the fan, we just disconnect the line. So anyway, now we can get a really good look here at what's going on. So it's either the radiator, I suspect, or it could just be this connection right here to the radiator. The fluid looks like it's right here. It's right underneath that. See that? So let's pump it back up. No, we're still under pressure. Where are we at here? Okay, so we haven't lost all of it yet. We'll give it a little bit more. Let's see, I kind of want to move this around. There's a little O-ring in here that seals it. Just clean this off, start from scratch. There it is. See, it's just literally squirting that little stream right there. That is right out of the radiator. As much as I'm okay with that over the engine, I really wanted it to be the hose. Well, in the world of CL65 ownership, I guess this isn't too bad. $351 for a new radiator. So let's go place that on order and get the CL out of here for now. We got other stuff to work on, like the Caprice. All right, so I gotta move these 2 cars right over here on the flat stalls, and we're doing a lot of organizing here as well. So before we get to those, we have to build this. If you guys noticed, I got a new Sonic toolbox, and this is an entire system, so it's gonna have a cabinet and everything. All right, so right now we're just taking the drawers out of the box portion because this got delivered off of a truck on a pallet, and it weighs a lot. Max and I couldn't lift it up, so Peter and I are taking the drawers out. We're gonna make it lighter, and then hopefully we can just muscle this thing off. All right, so we're just adjusting the little legs on the bottom. And we got this thing pretty nice and level, don't we? Let's try it this way. Yeah, it's perfect. Christmas morning. Wow, this hardware is really nice. Wow, everything is just super strong. Look at the legs. We're building a roll-around cart right now. Look at this. Everything is supported so well. Wow, this is gonna be the beefiest cart ever. Double wheel casters, this is crazy. All right, we're getting there. This thing is looking so good. We have the backsplash on, and that way we can run some wires through here if we need to, and we still have the stainless countertop that's gonna go over this entire thing, and this is just sweet, guys. I am so excited for this. Oh, wait a minute. These are totally soft close. This is like nicer than my house. Unreal. Ready? All right, we're done with assembly. This is actually pretty easy to do. Looks amazing. I gotta show Max. Yo, Max, wake up. I say you found the cart. Indeed. It's solid, isn't it? Let me just take you over to see.
Oh, nice breeze.
Yeah, there you go. You got to see the new MSS Plus from Sonic. Let me just get you close.
Oh.
Yeah. Pretty sweet, huh?
I like it.
You want to see something cooler than that? Look at this. The drawers on the MSS Plus, some of them can hold like 570 pounds, and then these hold 270 pounds. So hang on a second. I can get up on these too. I don't weigh 270 pounds. These drawers are crazy. This thing is built seriously like a tank. Look at this. Like there's no resistance at all, just totally smooth, way overkill, stainless steel top. I love this thing. So aside from being built extremely well, this is a very versatile system. So there are 121 different modules. So you can build this out to be whatever you need, whether it's at your home garage or in your shop. It's fully powder coated. It has ball bearing drawer slides, a 304 stainless top. I mean, the construction is just out of this world. So of course, I'll leave you guys a link down below so you can experiment with building out your own custom storage solution. But I am loving this thing. The only thing I have left to do is fill it with tools. And speaking of tools, this is really neat. I haven't seen another company do this, but tools are a big investment. So Sonic sells a sample toolkit so you can test drive their tools before you buy. And this entire kit is only like 60 bucks. I don't know how they do it, but I've been using only Sonic tools here at LegitStreetCars for about 9 months. And I can attest to the fact that these are top notch, the best of the best. A lot of this stuff is made in Germany. Very fine tooth ratchets as well. Everything feels amazing. And they have the best and easiest warranty on the market. No longer do you have to wait a couple weeks for a tool truck to show up or not show up to your shop. You don't have to drive anywhere. All your tools are saved in your account. You scan your QR code, you have your inventory checklist, and in a lot of cases, you don't even have to mail back your broken tool. They simply send you a new one within 24 hours. That's definitely the way it should be. So check out my special link down below. I'm gonna leave a coupon code down there as well, Legit10 for 10% off everything they sell. And if you guys have bought professional tools before, you know how big of a deal that is. So with that, let's go fix a Caprice. All right, so the Caprice has a bad alternator, so we got a new one of those. And then this door latch assembly doesn't work anymore. So we got a new one of those as well. So let's jump start this bad boy. This will be a nice cold start. It's been sitting here for about 4 days, and you know, this thing's just a little loud. right, so yeah, it's got a bad alternator, so even with the jump pack on there, it's dead. All right. Well, this is why you have to charge your jump pack over the weekend. This thing is completely dead, and the alternator's dead, and the batteries are dead, so everything's dead, and the car's dead right here in the stall. So we got to get to pushing, Max. Pretend it's running. All right, we're good. And there's the wipers. All right, so I charged up the jump pack so you guys can see this. Low fuel. Yeah, so with it running, it's only at 11 volts. So it's only running off of the jump pack right now, which is also at 11 volts. And it's in battery saver mode. Alternator issue. There you go. Look at that. And there we go. So both the batteries in the Caprice are dead, and the alternator's not doing anything. So without this, it doesn't work. All right, so first things first, we have to remove the reservoir for the power steering pump. And what's nice is we don't have to lose any fluid and make a big mess. We can just do one of these guys here, tuck it in. And no bolts for that. You just have to kind of push this tab in, and it just slides right out. All right, go ahead, Peter. He's going to loosen up the tension on the belt. And there we go. And we don't really have to get the belt all the way out of here. Just kind of tuck it out of the way. Good to go. All right, so we still have to get the power steering pump out of the way and this gigantic bracket. Yeah, one last bolt for the bracket on the back. We're going to try and move this out of the way without removing the pump out of the bracket. Kind of see what happens. Okay. I think if we put the power steering pump just right here, kind of resting, we can maybe squeeze this out. We should be able to. Then that way we really don't have to do too much work with the power steering pump, so that's kind of nice. So I got the last bolt out of the alternator, and they always get kind of stuck in here. Nice. All right, let's see if I can get this thing out of here. Okay. All right, there we go. This would have been a lot easier to replace when I had the engine out and completely disassembled, but you got to draw the line somewhere with the while you're in there parts. I thought I heard something going on with this bearing. But anyway, let's take a look at our new one. You're having a baby. Aw, it's so cute.
Made in Japan.
Oh, just like you.
Yeah.
Were you technically made in Japan?
At least partially. Made in the USA with Japanese parts.
There you go. So this is a factory AC Delco alternator. We're not messing around. I have had issues with cheap rebuilt aftermarket ones. So spent a little bit more on this guy, but I don't want it to fail. Oh, there we go. Peter just broke it. Good job, Peter. All right, cool. Bolts are started. Good deal. All right, so new alternator is bolted in. Everything is connected on the back. So right now, I'm just going to put this power steering bracket back in. So I'll kick it off here with this bolt in the rear. All right, there we go. All right, we'll plug this guy in for the coolant temp sensor. This guy in for some sparkage. And then this one for the alternator. All right, belt going back on. There we go, back on with the power steering reservoir. Harnesses look good, everything looks good. Nitrous kit looks good, we need that. We're ready to fire, yeah. Let's see if this fixed it. Fingers crossed. Nice. That's great. Aside from low fuel, we shouldn't have any other lights coming on. Wow, we are really low on fuel. That's pretty bad, but perfect. This thing is back in action. The Caprice PPV doesn't have a normal rear door panel, obviously, so prisoners couldn't escape. So this car did have a cage that divided the front seats and the rear, and it did have a plastic seat in the rear as well. I've gotten rid of that for the factory seats, which are much nicer. I still have to button up the interior, But nonetheless, we need to remove this flat panel and get to this guy right here, which has simply broken. It's just really loose and it doesn't click in anymore. You can just see right there, it's supposed to stop, and I can just push it up with my thumb. All right, so we have both of the batteries charging a little bit more right now, but they're fairly new, so we should be good. Wow, this is beefy. So this is steel, very strong. They're not messing around. Doesn't look like this has ever been opened before. Usually this gets all distorted and destroyed after a couple mechanics have been through it. All right, we got 3 T30s. Okay, there we go. Here is our bad latch. Let's make sure this guy's the same. Looks pretty good. Very basic latch on this police car. So we're just gonna swap these guys over. I don't believe you need these with no handle. These, yeah, this is, look at this. These don't go anywhere at all because there's no handle back here, but we'll hook them up nonetheless. Eventually I'd like to get a normal door panel back here so I'm not keeping all of my passengers prisoner. But anyway, there's that. All right, let's put our little soundproof barrier here. It does nothing. And let's test it out. There we go. Perfect. All right, with the Caprice all fixed up, we got to test it out. I think it's fixed. I haven't driven this thing in a long time because it has a power steering leak, a major power steering leak, and I'll show you where it's coming from. Is it gonna, oh, there you go. It's coming from the rack right there. I pulled the boot off just to show you guys. But go ahead, Peter, start it up. Turn the wheel a little bit. Yeah, so as you can see, it's leaking right out of the rack, and about 150,000 miles, pretty normal. So we need to get a rebuilt rack in the ML, and it actually just came in, and it's right down the street. So we gotta remove this one, and go pick up our new one. All right, wheels are off, and we're ready to start loosening up these tie rods right now. Say this thing is a beast. So we're gonna be replacing these outer tie rod ends, so I don't really care about ruining the threads. Not bad. All right, we have 2 lines disconnected right there. We have our electrical connector disconnected. If you guys weren't around for the ML55 off-road build, I'll leave a couple videos down below. But this thing is pretty neat. We have Bilsteins on here, so these aren't meant for the ML or anything. We had to do a little bit of custom work here to get everything to fit, and we actually had to grind out the frame so we can move the control arms out to adjust our camber. I think I still need to go a little bit more on that. And we were able to fit 35s on this ML, and these are the factory shocks and springs, but we have some really big custom spacers that the guys at Fluid Motor Union made for me. So we documented this build series on the channel, and it was a ton of fun. And then we tested it out in the Upper Peninsula on some off-roading trails in Michigan. So such a fun little SUV. It was only $3,800. It's got a little rust on the doors, so I can beat this thing up and not really care. All right, so this rack job is actually kind of a bigger job than I remember. We have to remove the differential. So we got this drive shaft off. We pulled the axles out of it, which required us to break this loose and kind of just put the spindle in a service position, if you will. So yeah, here is our differential. And at this point, the last thing I hope I got to do is take these bolts out. I know I've done a rack and an ML, but it's been literally 15 years or something. So yeah, let's get these bolts out and see if we can muscle this guy out of here. All right, so we don't really need a trans jack just yet. Let's see what happens. Should just rest on the subframe right now. got this back one just kind of holding it. All right, there you go. Hey, don't fall on me. Whoa. All right, it's not too bad. Not heavy at all. Nope, not struggling. Oh, Peter, are these your keys? All right, diff fluid is one of the nastiest fluids ever. Peter, your keys have some of them.
I needed to change the oil on them.
You needed to change the oil in these? All right, good. All right, so we have the lines and everything disconnected. The electrical connector there. And I think that's it. I think that's all we need to do. All right, you ready, Peter?
Yeah, let's see if you're done.
Come on. Oh, yeah. Sweet.
Boy. Oh, she is.
Dude, all I gotta say is I hope this rebuilt one we get doesn't leak right away. There's a ton of labor involved here.
I don't want to do this again.
No. Oh, man. Luckily, we found a rack rebuilding service 2 blocks away from LegitStreetCars. And this was crazy, but they had an ML55 rack in stock. And these are really rare. They're different from the ML320, 430, and 500. They have like a different steering ratio because this is a performance SUV. All right, so this has turned into multiple days in the life here at LegitStreetCars because we have to wait for parts every once in a while. So everything is in. We have our rebuilt rack and pinion. This comes with the inner tie rods and new boots. It's painted, it looks great, can't wait to get that in. And then just some while we're in there type of parts, we have the outer tie rods, the upper control arms, the joints were getting loose and the boots are ripped, so I'm gonna replace those. And of course, everything is from my friends at fcpeuro.com. And yes, they still do their amazing lifetime parts replacement guarantee. If you buy a part from FCP Euro, it's covered for life while you own that vehicle. So you'll get a brand new part in the mail, you ship your old part back. It's really easy, and I think they're the only ones that do this. It's an amazing warranty, and they also sell all of the big names. Lemforder, I've been using those for years, and you can get factory replacement parts from them. And normally, like from Mercedes, for example, they only give you a 1-year warranty on those factory Mercedes parts, so you can literally get the exact same parts a lot of times for way cheaper, and they come with the lifetime parts replacement guarantee. So FCP Euro down below. If you have a Euro car, you're gonna love them. All right, here we go with the control arm. Oh man, I got that on real tight last time. Jeez. Yeah, I was strong last year when I did this. I get the old breaker bar out. That ought to do it. Oh yeah. Leverage works every time. Well, except when you use too much leverage and then you break something, then it doesn't really work in your favor, that's for sure. Okay. There we go. All right, cool. All right, well, this is kind of dumb. Can't get this bolt out. This is how it went from the factory. I don't know why we didn't fix this the last time we had this out. We should just have the bolt going this way and the nut on that side. That would make sense. This one, let's see, I think this one will make it out. No. Oh, that is so dumb. What did we do that for? This is what you get for trying to be proper, people. This is how the bolt goes. And I don't know why I put them back in this way. I probably didn't have the shock in at the time. That's annoying. Oh, we're definitely gonna fix that. We have the tools. Hopefully we can just loosen up the top of this shock and kind of move it around to get the bolts out, I hope. I couldn't just pull it down out of the way, so we're gonna not be lazy here and just remove the shock. There we go. All right, not too bad. You know, an extra 5 minutes. Okay, now I can simply take the bolts out this way. And yeah, I don't see why we can't just put them in like this and have the nut on that side. Seems to be the way to go. There's our old control arm. And you can see here, the boot is torn and this thing is just really floppy. It's just worn out. And here's our new one. And it gives you resistance when you're moving the joint. This is fresh, this is tight. This is gonna basically make our ML55 on 35-inch mudding tires handle just like a Ferrari. I don't remember this last time. 60 or 09? I don't know what is going on here, but what does this mean? Comment down below if you know. I have no clue. Before I install the new control arm, I just wanted to give you guys an update on a modification that we made last year. So some of you guys myself included, were a little bit worried about structural integrity of this part of the frame. So we had to notch these out quite a bit to correct a negative camber issue. So after I lifted the ML and put the big tires on there, it looked like one of those stanced vehicles where the wheels were all kind of like in like that right at the top. So we had to notch this out in order to bring that out. And it's still a little bit negative. I need to do more, but this is as much as I felt comfortable removing. And then we took it off-roading. I've driven it, 2,000 miles, whatever, and there's no issue at all. But I think if we're gonna add in some more positive camber, we're gonna have to weld a plate in here so we can extend the control arm out even further. But so far, so good. It's really close as is. We could probably leave it and be okay. But I think during phase 2 of this off-road build, which we will get to at some point, we're gonna do it right, weld some plates in there, and then do a customer bumper with another winch and some other cool stuff I really wanna do. For now, I'm just excited to get this thing back on the road. I wanna hit some trails. All right, we'll lube these up a little bit to make them easier to reinstall. When you're working with fresh bushings, it can be kind of a pain to get these back in. And then if you're trying to get your bolt lined up, you can take a center punch or anything you can kind of get in here, and then you can manipulate the control arm exactly where you need it. All right, so now we're gonna do the smart thing and install our bolt this way. Look at that. With the bolts in, we can just pry this all the way forward to take advantage of our notches that we made last year. And I'm gonna go ahead and install these nuts, but we're not gonna tighten them just yet. We'll tighten this all up when we get the ML back on the ground. That way you're not putting an unnatural twist on the control arm. I mean, we can kind of eyeball it that it was right here, but it's more proper to tighten up control arm bushings with the car loaded on the ground. All right, let's install our Bilstein shock. This does have a reservoir. It's pretty cool looking. And this is not for an ML. I think these are for an F-150 or something. We just figured it out with measurements and got it to fit, and everything's worked out great. So hopefully this is the last time I have to remove this shock for a very long time, because this is the part that requires a ton of legit street muscle to get going. Oh, yeah, this sucks. We have to compress this and get it started. I think I remember how I did this. Aha, I used this guy as like a handle. All right, legit street muscles. There we go. Okay, whew, it's there. I'm gonna take a little breather. Let the muscles relax, do a stretch. Second part of the procedure is trying to thread this and not cross-thread it. All right, let's be smarter than the shock. I can pry this here, put it at the angle that I need for the threading. This is legit street muscle and legit street brain being used in conjunction to tighten a bolt. At the end of the day, we're just tightening a bolt. It really shouldn't be that hard. And it's not that hard. See, I have it threaded. Oh yeah. There we go, we're good. I did it. I installed a bolt and now I'm tightening it. It's pretty cool. Proud of myself. All right guys, it's now like 3 or 4 days later and we still don't have a rack in the ML. And this is why sometimes videos don't come out on time. It's just because of parts, especially when you're working on older Euro stuff. Parts can get messed up for whatever reason. Now, in this case, it wasn't really anyone's fault. The 163 chassis ML has 2 different style racks, an old style and a new style. So mine, being a 2000, should have the old style. So that is what I ordered. That's this one here. This is the correct rack for a 2000 ML. But someone had converted this to a later model rack. So this is, I believe, from 2002 to 2005. It had a different rack. You can see the difference here mostly are with these lines here. The routing of them is different. And also on this style rack, you would just have 2 lines that thread in the seal, whereas with the newer style, you get the banjo bolts that thread in. So that's what my truck had. It had the banjo bolts and a newer style rack. So someone might have just gotten a good deal on a used rack and it was cheaper to switch the lines over because believe it or not, at the dealer, a rack for one of these is $3,000. Now I only paid $500 and I just got one rebuilt. I found a place right down the street that literally only does racks, but it just took a few days. So anyway, now we have the correct rack. Oh, and one other thing, if you're swapping over your rack, don't forget to remove and reinstall any kind of sensor that you see on your rack. For example, this one here It just sits right in here like that. And this part is $500 at the dealer, and it takes like a week to get. So definitely don't forget any of this on your old core rack and send it in. You'll be in a whole world of trouble if you do that. All right, so right now we're gonna install this ridiculously expensive valve. And it's crazy to think that at the dealership, a rack would literally total this vehicle out. I only paid $3,800 for the entire ML, and they want $3,000 just for the part. So with labor, it'd probably be about $4,000 at the dealer to do a rack. And this is an ML55 for $3,800. It'd be the same cost for an ML320 that's worth like $1,500. Anyway, you guys get the idea. All right, let's be very gentle with these. You don't need to put much pressure on these screws. You will snap them. Don't play around here, guys. Stuff is just too expensive to take any chances. Okay, new rack is going in this way. And we want to be really careful that we don't mess up the splines here. All right, from here, we will just slide the rack in to its little mounting tabs here on the frame. There we go. All right, slide our bolts through the top. So while you're putting the rack in, you want to go ahead and spline the steering shaft onto the rack, and then you're going to secure that with a bolt through there and a nut on the other side. Next up, we're going to install the line, so we have our banjo bolts with fresh copper washers. So you put the bolt through, the washer goes on the other side, and then we're just tightening these down. Definitely get these threaded before you get any kind of tool on here. You don't want to cross thread anything. All right, then we're just snugging these lines up. I already did the bottom one. What I like to do is kind of hold the line here, because you can turn the line as you tighten it. So just make sure you have it in a spot that you like it, where it's not hitting anything. And we're just crushing these seal rings here, so we don't have to do a crazy amount of torque here. Just hand tight is good. There we go. All right, last up over here, we're gonna plug in this ridiculously expensive sensor. There you go. All right, here we go. Time to muscle the front differential in by hand. It's the only way to do it. These really aren't that bad, especially if you know, work out constantly every single day, like me, clearly. Okay. Piece of cake. Is that all you got? All right, we'll get one of these guys started. And that's two. And this big one goes all the way through. Feeling extra lazy and don't want to do this by hand, so we got an extension out. There we go. Okay, so now we have the fun of reinstalling the axles. And it's very important to get the axle at the right angle, because it's already kind of hard to push it past the little C-clip at the end of the axle. So if you're kind of crooked, it's gonna be even more difficult. So we're gonna try and get this as level as possible. At some point it will start to lift the vehicle, and that's when we stop. All right, I'll get the axle started. Make sure it's splined before you kind of put any force on it. And you should not need to use a hammer or anything like that. There we go, okay. And it's gotta be all the way solid here. You can see this is kind of a dust shield for the seal, and that's perfectly flush. So that's installed all the way. All right, so they didn't give me new nuts for the upper control arms, which is odd, so I will get those, but for now, I'm just gonna put a little bit of Loctite. If this spins, you might have to hold it, but right now we're pretty good. So I'll probably just tighten it up like this. All right, and that's nice and tight. All right, we're almost done here. Just gotta get the little drive shaft reattached. We want a little bit of Loctite on these. We don't want these bolts flying off when we're off-roading the ML55, so I put a little bit of Loctite on there. And I want to start all of these first before we start tightening anything. Go ahead and tighten these up by hand. We'll go all the way around. You guys get the idea. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Don't forget it. All right, next up we have the outer tie rods. These are labeled left and right. And we're just gonna go ahead and thread these guys on. And we definitely need an alignment after this. But because we're not completely done up top, it'd be kind of a waste of money. They're never gonna get the camber in spec. So I'll eyeball it for now. We'll fix that up over at Fluid Motor Union with OJ and the guys, and then we'll get a real alignment. Okay, for these, we definitely have new hardware, and install a little Loctite on there as well. All right, let's get some fluid in this rack, and then we'll bleed it out. Now, before we fire this thing up, I'm just gonna turn the wheel lock to lock a few times, get the fluid flowing. That way we're not running the pump dry. All right, go ahead and start it up, Max. Move the steering wheel back and forth. Let's see how it sounds. Pretty good. And this is what you want to see. You don't want the fluid to be aerated with a bunch of bubbles. And we went back and forth with this a bunch of times before we started it. Otherwise, you will hear a groaning power steering pump, and that's not nice to do to your pump. All right, it's now time for my least favorite part of working on the ML, and that is getting these gigantic monster truck tires on. These weigh so much. These are the factory wheels, and we did these rock rings here just to protect the aluminum wheel because you could damage these on rocks. And then we put some hardware on here that did rust. Yes, people pointed that out. I see it too. It rusted. We probably should have powder coated those or something, but we didn't. And one of these days I will have to fix that. But that day is not today because I want to go drive this thing. We're going to go do some serious off-roading here to end the video. Okay. All right. There's the whole... Found it. Woo! All right, I think it's actually easier to do this like so. There we go. Much easier than playing around on the ground with these monster truck tires. Check the comments, no doubt there's someone down there. It's like, monster truck tires? My boy Daryl's put some 37s on his stock V6 F-150. Those ain't monster truck tires, they're only 35s. They're monster truck tires for me, okay? They're the biggest tires I've ever bought in my whole life. Let's go do some Chicago off-roading. All right, so I have to make some field adjustments here. You can see we have quite a bit of negative camber. I already moved that out pretty much as it can go. That's why we need to make those plates for the control arms. But our toe is out of whack. This one's not too bad, but we can fix that. Yeah, so this is pretty much as far out as it goes right now. Think I'm gonna make it?
I don't know, dude.
Oh man.
You might get stuck.
Here we go. Ready?
Oh! Whoa, 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 whoa.
Woo! There we go.
Oh, back tire, you're definitely gonna get stuck. Definitely gonna get stuck. Oh my goodness.
All right, guys, obviously that was pretty extreme. I don't know if I want to push it much further than that because we do have to work on the alignment. But clearly the ML55 is very, very capable off-road. But more importantly, we don't have a leaking rack. It's perfect. I'm loving it. I can finally drive this guy again. 99, 100. All right, I've gotten my workout in. This video is done. We have a fixed Caprice, a fixed ML55, sort of. We gotta make some adjustments in the front end, but this thing is almost trail ready. And we have a totally broken CL65 AMG that, yes, I did drive here with a leaking radiator because we're only like a block away. And because I had to get that thumbnail. I wanted all the cars that I worked on in the thumbnail, and I think I have at least accomplished that. So in the next CL65 video, we're gonna replace the radiator, some hoses, we're gonna do some work on the transmission, and it's going on the dyno. So we're finally gonna get some baseline numbers with this thing, you know, if it doesn't break again, which is unfortunately a real possibility. So with that, if you guys enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up, share the video with your friends, subscribe if for some crazy reason you haven't already. That just wouldn't make any sense. Just hit the subscribe button. And most importantly, have an awesome day. I'll catch all of you in the next video.